The poor countries are not the ones that are destroying the planet.
Our problems are incredibly, incredibly urgent.
Big industrial countries as well, like Germany and Japan, their streets ahead of us.
Do you remember those pizzas they used to have at Pizza Express, where about sort of 10% of it went to saving Venice? Let's save the world.
We should stop massively trying to save the planet. We can't. We don't have the capacity, we're not clever enough to save the planet. We've got more urgent jobs to do. Think of the Earth as alive. One of its favourite havens is when it starts heating up, is a state about 5 degrees hotter than it is now. Once it starts running there, you're not going to stop it. And so what we should be thinking about is not trying to stop it, but preparing for the new world that's to come.
Our governments don't seem to have the slightest understanding of the problem, and it is to do with direct action, it is to do with public opinion. It's all we've got. We've got to influence these people.
I feel uncomfortable about the side of me that likes to wander around an art gallery or wear a dress by Vivienne, that in some way is having a message.
I just think that our whole society is one that makes you a cipher in the whole passive experience of consumerism, television, whatever. Dress up, walk tall, try to tackle the problems of the world. It has a terrific, terrific effect, the way you are.
Could you just say again what is wrong with this idea that we just have to bring down the amount of carbon dioxide in the air? It's a simple matter of reducing that.
There's just too much there. I think one of the most harmful analogies that's been around recently is the tipping point, because it always seems to imply that if only we pull back from this point, all will be well. It won't. Think of the Earth as alive.
Yes.
That's what I've been doing for a long, long time. A living thing. Shall we say you got a horse in a stable and it was getting too hot and the horse felt really uncomfortable and endangered. You're not going to stop it by just saying, no, calm down, it's not as bad as you think.
You could fan it, or you could do something.
Well, you can do things like that, but it takes a long time to cool down a horse. An animal as large as a horse is much more likely to kick down the stable and go running out to somewhere where it's cool. And that's just what the Earth is doing.
I know you love Gaia, and it's very bad for her perhaps to be growing by a force. I've no idea whether it is. There seems to be a bit of hope in there that we should be doing things that are beneficial to Gaia.
Well, it's like that chap who's told he's only 6 months to live and there's no possibility of a medical cure. He goes to the alternative practitioners. I think until the first disaster comes along, people will naturally do things that move them very much and they feel strongly about.
Is it not something we can do, that if we stop heating the planet in all kinds of ways, or we do some geoengineering to try and bring it down, that then this thing won't happen?
You can't just stop it. You can't turn it off.
But can we
it's already happening, you see. The awful things happening in sub-Saharan Africa, in Darfur and places like that, are a consequence of global warming. The tribal wars that are happening down there are because people from further south are being driven into the tribal lands of the Saharan people, and they're naturally fighting over what is a very scarce resource. And this kind of thing is inevitable and is what will happen. We're a pretty violent animal, and once we get steamed up tribally, it's very difficult to turn it off. Human nature it's a very slow changing thing, and unless there's some money in it, on the whole it doesn't change at all.
Children, you're expensive. Crap is not good enough for you. This self-promotion and doing what you want is a sham philosophy of life. No, it's not self-indulgence, but self-discipline that makes the individual. And you, especially, need self-discipline if you're going to be a freedom fighter.
I'm having trouble even asking the questions in face of such a, I consider, pessimistic outlook.
As the only independent, I've got to say what I really think. In the last few years, the ice that's in the North Polar regions that people used to march the North Pole over, it's all going. And they reckon the whole lot will be gone in between 5 and 20 years. When it does, the amount of extra heat absorbed from the sun during the Arctic summer will be equivalent to all of the heat from all of the CO2 we've added to the atmosphere. So suddenly the heating doubles. And that's something we can't stop at all. We can't do a thing about it. And that's only one of many what we call positive feedbacks in the system, whereby the Earth is moving rapidly to its hot state. And it is like the horse bursting out of the stable. We're not going to stop it. And so what we should be thinking about is not trying to stop it, but preparing for the new world that's to come. It's not a bad world, but it's not fit for 7 billion people. We've got to make wherever we are a civilized and fit place. It's an enormous challenge, and I hope that something that we'll succeed. And history tells us we might. You see, humans have been on the Earth for 1 million years now, and there have been 7 events like the one about to happen during that time. Those were the jumps from the glaciation to the interglacial. The last one happened only 14,000 years ago. And when they happen, there's massive death. That's where the legends of the flood come from. And on one of those, the geneticists tell us only 2,000 people survived. And we've all come from that 2,000. It's amazing, really. But at each step, we've improved a little bit.
A work of art may show us ourselves, who we are, and our place in the world. If art is alive, the world will change.
It's all very well to say that we can become more human through art. Human enough to save the planet.
Look at us as the pullers of the trigger, accidentally. Who knows, it might have happened anyway. There's this global warming event, because the Earth is a non-linear, unstable system and does these jumps naturally. I'm hoping that the awful side of the event coming up will select a better class of humans.
The manifesto, I do believe, is a real anchor. And be political, you won't get blown away. You need to understand the past to know who you are. And also to recognise the world that you live in. My duty, I feel, as a non-believer of religion, is to try to understand the world I live in, this little accident of life. I feel that's what I should be doing. Anyway, but to know who you are, you have to understand the past, and I do believe you have to have some hope in the future. It's the effect of being an art lover that changes your life and makes you see the world. You're not just sucking things up.